who am I to be saying this on the internet? Who am I to be selling stuff on the internet?
When I first started thinking about business, I was like, well, I could never do that.
Even if business-wise it doesn't work out, these parts would have never come up had I not pushed myself through that birth canal pretty much.
If you step into the path of growth, then it's not like the thing you want, a magical six-figure business, just falls in your lap.
Welcome to Raw, Real, and Radiant with Claire Poho, where we talk about soul-aligned living and what's a life, even though that's not always pretty. Speaking about soul-led living, have you ever thought about starting a soul-led business? Everybody nowadays seems to be talking about the freedom, the abundance, and the sense of purpose, the alignment and clarity that starting an online business gave them. But I don't really hear enough people talking about the emotional reality of that. And that sometimes taking the steps that my soul-led business asked of me felt almost soul-crushing. In this episode with Mark Dallimore, we talk about the fear, the self-doubt, the nervous system overload, and the lessons we've learned along the way of starting and leading our soul-led business. Let's dive in.
There's something that happens on the path of awakening or spiritual development. At some point where we shed enough of the layers, we've done enough of our own healing, we start to feel like we'd like to support or help others in some way. And so I think it's a natural step in the journey of healing and spiritual development to want to step into entrepreneurship. I mean, when I first started thinking about business, I was like, well, I could never do that. I haven't got a clue where to start. I've got no experience in it. But the amazing thing about the times we're living in is it really does open it up to anybody who wants to share their story. And that's all it is, really. This age of the personal brand, what's your story? How have you helped yourself? And then how can you help others on their own path? And then it's just about sharing that in an honest, vulnerable and clear way as much as possible.
I've actually thought about this a lot in the past because, when I started doing this work, of course, first you're just focused on yourself and you're just like, wow, your eyes open up to a million things you didn't know about yourself and about your life that you've been hiding from. And it just hits you like a train and you're like, I'm completely paralyzed now. I can't even move. All this trauma's coming up, all these limiting beliefs, everything that I've been hiding from myself and pretending I have a good life and I feel good. Now it's all coming to the surface and you just feel like shit for months or years. Honestly, it can happen, right? And so you don't even think about this, but then you kind of still like, oh, wow, this is so cool to be a coach. And then you see maybe other people in our community who have done the work. And then you kind of see that for yourself and you're like, I want to do that too, right? And then you start healing and you start understanding all these things about yourself and about other people because you're in conversation, your community. And you start being able to help others. First of all, coach yourself, right? And that's already massively valuable because you have all these insights. And that's basically what a personal brand is, right? You have a story, you had a problem, you've found a solution. So now you're qualified to help others in the same situation to improve their lives, right? And so you start sort of looking up to that, and then you see how much this work can transform lives by 1,000 times, honestly. And it kind of feels crazy or almost irresponsible not to do this work.
Yeah.
And so I found that it was so much in front of me, and I was like, this is what I'm going to do because I can, so I should, because I have this gift now, I have this skill that I've honed and invested in so much time and money and, effort. So I should do this. And then I actually sat with it and I thought about it so many times. I was like, do I really want to do this? Or is it just because it's so much in front of me and I can, so I feel like I should, or I want to, because this is the environment I've been immersed in so much. And so I've sat with that for a long time, but I think I've always sort of known deep down, even before I started coaching work, that eventually I would have a personal brand because I started traveling when I was a teenager, right? And I always had so many stories and I love my independence and I never thrived being an employee. But I think it took me, like I knew I wanted to start a business maybe 3 years ago. And I think it's literally these past 3-4 days that I'm sitting down and refining what is it that I actually want to do. The core of it is a lot of the methods that we learned together. But then there's a huge part of me and my own journey and my personality and my current life experience and my past life experience and my soul and who I am as a human, right? Because we also need to bring in the ego, right? Because that's our personality and that's what makes us unique. And that's what makes the personal brand. Otherwise it'd just be, we're all one, but that's right. How is that gonna
their
make you stand
perspective.
out, right?
Yeah.
And so I find it really took all this time for me to now sit down and be like, oh, this is who Claire is, and this is who she wants to work with, and this is who she resonates with. And the messaging is going to sound completely different from, what our mentors do, and maybe from what you're going to do, and from other people that we know
Of
do,
course.
even though the foundation is the same. But I think my business is going to look completely different than maybe your business is going to look like, right? So that's kind of what's coming up for me with this, like, yes, I do want to help, but then is it really coming from me? Or is it just coming from, this is the kind of community, this is the kind of people that I've been surrounded by and aspired to, because after all, they're my mentors. I chose them because I look up to them, right, as my mentors. And so I look up to them, so I want to do the same thing because I think it's cool. So I think there for me that for sure it was a long process of coming back to myself and like actually how much do I resonate with the work that they do? I resonated with it then. I still resonate with it to a high degree, right? But to a certain degree, I don't resonate with some parts of it anymore. And I don't want to do that myself in the same way that they do it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I hear exactly what you're saying. It's but that essentially I think is what everybody's doing. Look at all the successful entrepreneurs out there. They've all learned from somebody, and they're all sharing the same ideas that they've learned from somebody. But and this information is passed down. But it's all like an entrepreneur is somebody who's taken a series of ideas from different teachers and coaches, whatever they might be, and kind of merged them together with their own story. So everybody's unique, and in that sense, that even if me and you, for example, were teaching the same techniques and methods, there's going to be certain people that appeal to my energy, and there's going to be certain people that appeal to your energy. So there's no competition as such. I just thought about where I was 3 years previously, or where I was 5 years previously. For anyone who's doubting what they can offer the world, just think what you could offer yourself 3 years ago, and what you would say to that person, and then think there are probably millions of people out there in that position that you could potentially help. Even though there's this massive entrepreneurs movement at the moment, there's still a fraction of the planet who are actually building their own businesses and becoming entrepreneurs. There's still a massive majority who are seeking help, dealing with all kinds of challenges in their lives, and there'll never be a scarcity of people to help. So, that kind of helped me to get past that initial imposter syndrome of who am I to be a coach and who can I help? It's like, think of where I was 3 years ago, and that guy, I know I could help massively because they were in a really difficult place, and I needed me, the person I am today. So it really is about stepping up there and putting yourself out there. And the other thing you said, which is interesting, is what I love about this energetic healing work. It's not only a case of healing past trauma, for example. If you start stepping into a path of personal growth, whatever that is for you, it could be entrepreneurship. For me is the big one. It's a massive mountain to climb, and we haven't been educated on entrepreneurship, so we've got to learn from scratch basically. But any path that you go on that really pushes yourself, if you want to kind of change careers or promotion or start a new relationship, whatever it might be, what it's going to do is it's going to start bringing up limiting beliefs and self-doubt, and essentially our traumas from the past. But that's the beauty of the journey, because if you stay in your comfort zone your whole life, you never grow. If you step into the path of discomfort or the path of growth, then it's not like the thing you want just falls in your lap. A magical 6-figure business just drops in you in 6 months' time. What happens is the universe goes, all right, well, in order to get that, you're going to have to face all this stuff that's in the way. That's how it works. I think for a lot of people, it's like they go into creating a business, or they want to create a certain amount of money, and it doesn't happen straight away. And all this doubt and fear and painful stuff comes up, and they go, "Oh, that wasn't what I wanted. This is nothing to do with what I wanted. Obviously, I'm not doing it right, or I'm not doing manifestation right, or something like that," without realizing that that is the key to face and feel through and heal all of this past trauma. And that's the beauty of it, because otherwise all this stuff lies dormant in our systems. All these traumas and parts are just sat there underneath the surface, controlling our lives. When you step into the path of growth, it all comes up to be felt for and healed. And I'm always experiencing this on my own journey. It's like, when I'm about to make a breakthrough in any part of my business, for example, I've just created this group coaching program. I made it available to 5 people So I've done a couple of workshops to prepare for it. And after the first workshop, I had 2 people signed up. So I'm thinking, okay, that's great, but it's not enough for me to run the program. And it brought up a lot of sadness within me because I didn't have enough to run this group program. And I was like, wow, okay, this is an interesting reaction. Instead of going into victim mode or whatever, I just sat with that, all the sadness that was coming up, the disappointment. And one day I woke up, and when I thought about the group program, I didn't feel that sadness. I was just like, okay, well, 2 people, well, maybe I'll do a solo thing, maybe I'll do a one-on-one program. And within a couple of days, another 3 people dropped in. So for me, that's kind of validation of what I'm talking about here. It's the path. The path is, there's two aspects to the work. Yes, there's the outer work of building a business. You do actually have to do some doing to create it. But 50% of it also is the being work, the feminine work, which is kind of just feeling and healing into the energy as it comes up. And the external reality is a reflection of our internal vibration. So you shift your vibration, external reality changes to match it. And that's why I love this work, because it's relevant to anything you want to do in your life. It can help you in anything, any way you want to grow. Essential to balance the doing and the being.
Yeah, I love that so much. And I was kind of giggling as you were talking because this is literally what I went through these past few months. I launched my group program in December, and a part of me is like, should I talk about this? Like, this is too vulnerable, and I'm going to expose my business, and are people not going to trust in me and my brand and my business? You're trying to of course, you always try to keep it up a little bit on social media. My program is selling out. It was so tough. I've been wanting to launch something for over a year now. And then I've had some deep medicine journeys this October, and things just kind of fell into place. And it was like, oh my God, this is who I am. This is what my experience is. And this is what I want to see in the world. And not seeing it in the world pains me. And this is what I need to do because I want to see this change in the world. I need to get this work out yesterday. Like, I need to do this. And so I sat down and I wrote the whole structure of the program, and everything was just coming through. And I was like, oh my God, it's here. Like, I designed the program because until then I just didn't have any clarity. That's why I couldn't take action, because when you don't have clarity about what you want to do, how do you take action? If you don't know if you're going south or north or east or west, where do you go? You just, take one step there, but you don't know where you're going. So you're just kind of stuck in place. And so all of a sudden I had this clarity. So it's like, oh my God, like, I need to start going because I know where I'm going. And so I started working on it. And then November was so busy socially, like, it's just such a fun month, but I didn't really get much work done. And then it's December now, and it's going to be Christmas, and nobody's going to buy anything over Christmas. And then it's going to be the next year. Like, I need to launch this before the end of the year. And so I need to launch this before Christmas. And so I need to launch this like next week, pretty much. And so I was like, okay, I'm doing this. And I was like, you know what? Done is better than perfect, right? I just need to do this because otherwise I know myself. I've been postponing this. So I'm just going to do this. And I was so not ready, right? And I was like, I'll figure it out as I go. And I'm going to bunch prepare content because I need to post every single day. And then I didn't because I was like busy and overwhelmed. And I was figuring out, like, I'm not a tech person. So I struggle so much with like websites and landing pages and like links connecting. And then Instagram would bug on me and it wouldn't work, everything, right? And I'm like, why does technology hate me? I don't want to like create this story in my head, but literally this is my experience every single day. I'll try to do something. And as I figure it out, which is already hard for me, the platform stops working or something. I'm like, why is this happening to me, right? So anyway, and then I didn't have the content prepared. And then just like you said, all of my own stuff, basically, like, who am I to be saying this on the internet? Who am I to be selling stuff on the internet? Who do I think I am? Who's going to buy my program, right? Like, what if nobody buys? And then fighting the algorithm, nobody seeing it. And it just really felt to be very vulnerable here. It felt honestly soul crushing because I felt like I was pouring my heart and my soul into these posts on social media.
Yeah.
Extremely vulnerable stuff about my story, not because I'm an exhibitionist and I want to be like, this is this thing that happened to me, everybody pity me or look at me, how cool I am. Not at all. I'd prefer not to share this stuff on social media. But I know that somebody out there needs to hear that because I never heard that from anybody. And had I heard that from somebody, I would be like, oh my God, thank you so much for sharing that, because I thought I was alone and I didn't even know how to think about this thing that happened to me or that I went through. But But now that somebody else who's processed it and overcome it speaks about it from that place, it helps me understand it. It helps me process it. And I want to heal this. So I resonate with you. So please tell me more, right? There's so much resistance in me coming onto social media and saying these things, but I feel like I know I need to say this. I know this is coming through. I know this is my story for a reason. The mess becomes your message. You experience something so that you can help others overcome it too, because you did. And so I felt like I'm sharing all this vulnerable stuff on social media and nobody's even seeing it. So I'm like, how am I supposed to sell my program if the algorithm's not even showing my posts to anybody, right?
Yeah.
And so honestly, like in the middle of it, it just felt so soul crushing. Why am I doing this? I'm trying to, serve the world. And like, I feel like I'm not serving anyone because nobody's even seeing my post. What am I doing here? So, and luckily, not luckily, I probably wouldn't have done this had I not done this much work of personal development before. And this much healing. But so, at this point where I'm at, I do have that overview where I know this is just parts of me that are not healed yet, that are coming up and that are, saying all these things and that feel heard. But like, so I did have this overview, but it was really intense, right? And so then you're in the middle of it and then you're like, how am I now supposed to go and create content for social media when I'm so confident about my program and trying to sell it where I feel like this, right? And so I was like, oh, this is why you batch prepare content before the launch or whatever. So I've learned all these lessons, but honestly, going through that process was so hard emotionally. Like it was truly hard. But now I feel like, honestly, I feel like I'm a completely different person on the other side of it. And I was feeling into that, and I kept saying that. I was like, okay, like even if I don't sell anything throughout this launch, just going through that process, because I know how this works. I know how energetics work. And I've experienced this a million times through my own healing journey for the past 5 years. Like I know that if something comes up and I don't deny it this time, and I truly sit with it and feel through the depths of it, no matter how uncomfortable it is, I know that I'm going to move through it. And on the other side, life's going to be so much better. And so even if business-wise it doesn't work out, I'm going to surely at least learn a lesson, right? But even just emotionally, what I'm going through is so intense. And these parts would have never come up had I not pushed myself through that birth canal pretty much, right? Like had I not gone through that horrible, emotionally staring thing. And I was like, I'm sure on the other side, it's going to be so much better, right? And it's true. My program is up and running and I don't have as many people as I would have wanted to, but like, let's do this. And once you sit with that, like, oh, I don't have enough people, or like, oh, it could have gone better. You're like, no, like we're starting. Let's do this, like let's focus forward and like, it's just going to get better. And I find that the emotional, that whole like melodrama of like, okay, like, should I be doing this? Why did not more people sign up? Or like, do I really have to say this on social media? And people are looking at me. What are they thinking? Like, I've gone through that to the depth and now I don't really feel that anymore. And so now I'm like, okay, like now I'm just excited, right? And so everything that you were saying, this is exactly it. This is really the acceleration of personal development. Because when you show up, when you try to serve the world and put yourself out there and build a personal brand and sell things to people, all of your stuff, literally all of your stuff comes up that otherwise might have never come up.
If your stuff is really coming up right now, I created a free 23-minute long, deeply grounding and resourcing meditation. You can get it for free at clairepoho.com/free-meditation, and you can find the link in the show notes.
And so kudos to you, because it's really hard. And if you're starting out and you're having a struggle, a year from now, this struggle that you're having such a hard time to overcome, like it's something that's going to happen to you every day, and it's not going to be a struggle at all. But the struggles that you're going to have at that point, you couldn't even have this struggle today because like you're not even at that level of your business and of your personal growth. If you had that struggle today, you could never handle it. And so that's why you're being served as like, first somebody's going to put a thumbs down on your YouTube video, right? And the first time that's going to happen, you'll be like, oh, like somebody didn't like my video, right? And then you're like, okay, and then it's going to happen every day. And you're like, whatever, right? And then next time somebody's going to write a negative comment. And the first time you're going to be like, oh, like people don't like my video, right? And then it's going to happen every day. I'm going to be like, yeah, whatever. Like, 3,000 people like it and one person writes a shitty comment. Like, what does that mean, right? And then the next time, I don't know, like maybe somebody's going to call you and ask for a refund or whatever. And every time something like that happens, it's going to really touch your ego. And you're going to be like, oh, why is this happening to me? People don't like me. But then once you heal through that, you've gone a level further and you're really just healing your wounds. So it's like who am I, and how much am I going to let myself be influenced by what people think. And, there's always going to be people who are going to judge you or criticize you or reject you. And it's really, really, really hard, right? Honestly, I find that really hard. But do I really want to allow myself to be influenced by what people, especially people on the internet, what they think about me? And again, it's something that I need to work on every day. And how do I work on that? How do I build that unfuckwithable energy that I can just do my thing and trust that the people need to hear my message, they're going to hear it if I'm just unafraid of speaking it?
Yeah, I just wrote down, life happens for me. It's a big shift that we go through when we go from life happens to me to life happens for me. Because if you put a video out there, it gets a load of hates in the comments. You could easily go into victim mentality. Oh, they don't understand me. I'm just understood in my time, and they're not worthy. They don't get it. Or you can go, oh, that made me feel sad. That made me feel angry. Thank you, because you pointed out something in myself that I need to look at and to heal. It sounds like quite a small thing, but it's a huge shift for someone to go through, to suddenly go, okay, everything happens for me. So if I create a program for 5 people, only 2 show up. Okay, what's that bringing up within me? That's bringing up a lot of sadness in there. Great, that's stuff that I get to feel for and shift. And if I do that, then I'll get the result on the other side of it. And this is like you're saying on the entrepreneur's journey. There'll always be something else. Like, okay, filling out your first program. You're trying to get to your first 10K month or whatever it is, trying to get 10,000 followers, or exiting a business even at the top end, and there'll always be something else, entrepreneurship, But obviously what happens when you get to the top of that mountain, there's another one behind it. I often feel like, oh, so what do I do now? My whole purpose was tied up in that business. And so they can sink into depression off the back of that huge success. There is no end to the journey. There is no end to our development or our healing. So it's important to reframe our idea of success. Success is not somewhere in the future. Success is the way we feel, is how you feel. About something you talked about there, which is something everyone goes through. You start posting on social media and nobody notices. It's just like, what the hell am I doing this for? But having a community who can support you, it gives you that extra lift. But one thing that's missing from entrepreneur communities is a more feminine energy of healing, of sitting with and processing energy as it comes up. Because, the energy of entrepreneurship is very much in the masculine. It's doing. Just keep pushing, keep driving, striving. This phrase, burn the boats, which essentially means quit your job and just give yourself no choice but to make this business work. The problem with that attitude, it does work for some people. They do build a successful business. Not many people do, because it puts you into an energy of fear and stress and overwhelm, essentially, because you're like, oh, I've got to make this work. And you're just doing. You never stop working all the hours of the day and into the night and just like desperately trying to make this thing work. And that desperation and that lack is coming across in everything you put out to do with the business. In your posts, people can feel it, or on whatever content you put out there, there's this energy of just like desperation, which obviously is a low vibration energy. The energy you put out into the universe comes back to you like a mirror. So you're getting low vibration results. You're getting desperate people coming back to you because of desperate energy you're putting out there. So not to say that it can't work, because obviously some very well-known entrepreneurs have had success that way. But what I would say is that even though you might have outward success by building a business from just doing and scarcity and fear and lack, those parts will still be in your system. Even though if you've managed to override them or push them away in some way through just working non-stop, all those parts and all that energy is still built up and stuck in your system. And at some point, if you do stop, it's all going to come up and it's going to completely crash you, basically. So it's not like you might be able to create external success without combining it within a healing work, but at some point it's going to catch up with you, and that's why I see it in a lot of entrepreneurs. One in particular, I read a post from the other day. He says, oh, I just love working. I work 90-hour weeks. He's literally just working all the time. His entire life, he's working on the business. And, that's what he promotes as his method to success. And it's just like, if you do that, what you're essentially doing is you're just kind of like working to avoid the pain and the trauma and the stress or whatever is there underneath the surface. And if he ever does stop, and he has to stop because everybody does at some point, that stuff is just going to all just come up and overwhelm him. He hasn't processed any of it. He's just keeping it at bay by addiction to work, basically. So even if we can create some kind of external success through that way of working, I think it's always going to catch up with us eventually. So much better have that balance between the masculine and feminine, the doing and the being as we grow, and then we can grow in a sustainable way.
I think the biggest lesson is just staying humble. And I'm not saying not being confident in your brand, in your messaging, in your work, or not having goals. Like, yeah, absolutely have goals, have dreams, but always sort of come back to, why am I doing this? Right? And when you come back to that, even if you sign up one person for your program, you're like, I'm going to change this person's life.
Yes.
And I want to do this, right? And I want to run this program. And so like, yeah, it really fucking sucks that I'm going to run a group program for one person. But hey, I'm so excited and I'm going to test it out and, I'm going to experience it and I'm going to learn so much. And no matter what, I would do this. I'm just going to do this. And you talked about balancing the masculine and the feminine. That's something that I'm extremely passionate about. I ran this experiment and I have recorded several podcast episodes with my friend Dan about it, who ran a similar experiment. But I ran this experiment. I quit my job and I want to start a business. But at some point I was like, this is just not flowing right now. I can't. I just can't. I just don't have it in me. Like, I'm not at that stage yet. And if I were to do it, I would just be pushing and forcing and struggling and just like trying to make it happen because I have to, because I'm supposed to be doing something, because I quit my job and I said I would build a business. So now I have to work on it. But I just really didn't feel it. And I was like, I refuse to build anything from that energy.
Yes. I remember speaking to you at that time. Yeah.
So I was like, I'm just going to take a break now and trust that it's going to work out. And I'm just going to live with my savings until it happens. And I don't know how that looks. I don't know what needs to happen for me to be at that place energetically where I can do this. I have no idea. But I'm just going to lean into that trust.
Yes.
2 years ago, I realized I want to be more in my feminine. I've been in my hyper masculine most of my life. I think I've become really good at operating in the feminine, receiving, and even with my traveling, being in the flow and like not being too structured. But then I was like, okay, if I want to build a business, now I need to bring back the masculine in a healthy way. And that was my intention the last calendar year, finding a balance between the two. Because if I want to build a business, I need a healthy masculine that builds it and finds the structure and the doing, right? And the accountability. But also, like, I need my masculine to trust my feminine because I'm so intuitive. I'm so creative. And I have so many ideas, but I never acted on them. And one day I realized my inner masculine doesn't trust my inner feminine. So, like, if I got a job and somebody told me do this, I'd be like, okay, like, you told me to do this. And I would just work on it until it would be done. But if it's my own idea, it's like, yeah, like, is it a good idea? Is it going to work out? And I just don't put the energy into it. And I'm like, why is that? Like, it's not like I don't have it in me to accomplish a task. I really do. Like I used to be a hustler. I studied at really hard universities and I would just like do, right? Why can't I work on my own stuff? And so it's like, I need to bring these two together within me and have them communicate and trust each other and work together.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Love that. And we've all got to find that balance for ourselves. I think generally there's a global shift towards the feminine, as we all know, and we've got to, especially, like I said, especially in entrepreneurs communities, it's really neglected, the healing work that needs to be done. And that's why I see so many entrepreneurs, budding entrepreneurs, just fall away on the journey because the self-doubt or the fear builds up and they don't know how to process it. Yeah, and that's why it's a big part of actually both our programs, really. The other thing I was going to say is, I noticed that as well, this idea of life has seasons. You need to honor the season that you're in. Last year, I did a plant medicine ceremony. Last year, my business wasn't doing anything. I was getting absolutely nowhere. I was putting all this effort in, nothing was happening. And the plant seemed to say to me, you're in a season this year of shedding. This is like just kind of like releasing old energy, And as you go into the new year, you'll go into spring again. So you just need to honor where you're at. Just focus on your own healing and grow, shedding internally. And then you'll be in a position where you can invite new energy. You'll clear all this old energy out for new energy to come in. And that really helped me, actually, because it's not like, we are obviously affected by the seasons of the planet, but also you can have an entire year that is like an autumn season for you, where you just go through shedding, and it's like a little mini dark night of the soul, where you're just kind of like invited to go inwards. And then you can feel the energy shift. Then at some point, it's like, okay, I'm in a season of creating now, that creating energy and you could say external progress, but neither's better than the other. You just have to honor where you're at. And it's that whole term of what we call aligned action. So it's honoring how you're feeling each day. Like today, I've got a bit of a cold. So I backed off a bit from the creating and the writing posts and all that kind of thing. I've just kind of been listening to podcasts and just meditating, because I know if I create from this energy, it's not going to create the best results. Whereas, once this cold has passed and I'm feeling a bit more energized, okay, now I'm going to create. I'm going to record videos. I'm going to write posts. I'm going to reach out to people. I know that's the best place to get decent results. And the other thing I was going to say, setting the direction, really important when you start off on the entrepreneur's journey. And this is where this is what my whole program is about, purpose. Really important to define the direction you want to go in and the life you want to create. And when you start, because what a lot of people do is like, I'll build a side hustle, and I'll just basically sell anything that sells. I'll just go out there and like, drop shipping. I saw somebody made some money out of drop shipping or affiliate marketing or Bitcoin. And I'll just kind of try these things out and just want to make money. It's really important initially to get clear on what that purpose. What challenges you've overcome in your life? What do people come to you for advice for? How have you helped people in the past? What is the vision of this world that you'd love to see? These kind of questions, and just take time out and just don't rush it. Just journal about these things. Get clear on your origin, your mission, your vision, and this can kind of craft this idea of a purpose, which is basically your unique way of serving others. What I call outer purpose. Inner purpose is the work of self-realization, the spiritual journey inward, which is the same for all of us. Outer purpose is the doing in the world. So it's different for everybody, depending on what our individual gifts, passions, and story is. So my program now is all about establishing that inner purpose first. We've got that balance, got that alignment, the resource then to build our outer purpose from. Because we can't go into the world and start serving others if we're completely broken inside and we've got no energy. So we have to really establish the inner purpose first, then go out and build the outer purpose and start serving others. And it's really important then you've got that purpose, okay, how I want to serve others, who I want to serve, because when you talk about a coaching program, unfortunately not everyone's open to coaching and not able to invest in coaching. So you have to have a clearly defined person that you're going after, who actually can afford your program and will benefit from it. The other thing I did early on was define my ideal day. I journaled about my ideal day, exactly what I was doing, who I was with, the work I was doing, how it felt. And I just check in with that ideal day that I've written. It's like a paragraph that I've written, a couple of paragraphs that I've written where I explain what I'm doing. And whenever I feel like a bit confused about where I'm going or doubting what I'm doing, I just read that and just kind of aligns me again. Okay, this is what I want. Gives me a lot of time. I don't want a business that takes up all my time and I've got 30 employees and I'm kind of like constantly traveling all over the world doing podcasts and stuff. What I want is to have a business that sustains me, gives me that financial abundance where I can serve others in group programs. And I've got plenty of time to spend in nature, plenty of time to meditate, plenty of time to work on my own healing and growth. And so I know that what kind of business I'm trying to build, and I'm not going to get pulled into something that isn't right for me. Like it's so easy to get pulled into this idea of like infinite growth, more and more people, more and more money, like we talked about earlier. But if that's what you want, great. But just when you first start out, just be very clear on the reality you want to create for yourself. And so you can just align yourself as you go, as you start, because we're all going to get pulled in different directions as we go. You can always remember what you wanted to create and just bring yourself back into that alignment. That's helped me a lot.
Yeah. I love, how we get to talk about different topics from my own personal journey. I know that when my coaches or somebody I follow share about their very personal experience, that's when I learn the most, because it's like, that's how it really looks like. That's how you apply it. Because we've heard these concepts a million times, like, let go. You should let go. But then like you're in the middle of something. You're like, I should not be angry.
We all do this reminders though, don't we? Because it's so easy. Like when those big emotions hit you, like sadness or whatever it is, it's very easy to just kind of get caught up in the mind, trying to figure stuff out. Like, maybe I should reach out to more people on LinkedIn. Maybe I should create more videos on YouTube. And actually what you need to do is just, like you said, feel this. Just surrender and feel this thing. And then when you feel aligned, then do the other stuff.
Yeah. It's with these podcasts too, because sometimes I edit them like months later. And honestly, I'm so advised by our own advice. I'm like, oh, because it's these reminders, like you're saying.
Yeah.
Like, and so I guess it kind of ties back to why am I doing this? Even if nobody listens to this podcast episode, I'm still advised by our own advice. I'm loving this conversation. At the end, I just love doing this. And so that's why I'm going to keep doing it, keep coming back to that.
It happened again. I am being really advised by my own advice. So I recorded this episode almost 1.5 years ago. And I have to say that I am still struggling with a lot of the things that I described. And honestly, even some of the things that I thought that I had moved through when I recorded this episode. So I want to tell you that if you're on this path and it's feeling really fucking hard, you're not alone. From my experience, walking the path of your purpose is really not for the faint of heart, because your soul will ask you to push through these challenges, these things that you would want to avoid and rather never look at. And that's exactly what's going to stand in front of you before reaching your highest destiny and manifesting everything you've ever dreamed of. So it is my personal experience that everything I've ever wanted eventually does come to existence, even if the path seems so hard. But it lies on the other side of really facing the fear, the discomfort, the frustration, the doubt, and embracing it, and still trusting, still staying the course. And this is exactly the work that I do with my clients. Instead of running away or hiding or overcoming or deciding not to walk this path anymore, we really embrace these parts of ourselves that are causing us the discomfort. We really sit with them until we process them, metabolize them, and eventually these energetic blockages leave. They go away, and what's left is our cleared path towards our highest destiny and our dreams, our abundance, our partner. If you're interested to know more about my work, you can send me a DM on Instagram at The Radiance Queen, or shoot me an email, or you can start by downloading my free meditation. You'll find all the links in my bio. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.